What a terrible husband. Doing something bad on the wedding day. But this is the best way to loosen up, isn't it? On the day of the wedding. When I peeked into the dressing room, Kevin and Sarah were entangled, wearing nothing at all. Ugh. Ashley's boastful happy wedding is such a hassle. That's terrible. What are you saying? You're the star of the show. I'm not the star. If you say that, it's funny because Ashley doesn't look like the star either. No matter how much she dresses up, a plain face is just a plain face. She's just making a fool of herself. It seems I was the only one excited about getting married. My heart, which had been noisy until now, suddenly quieted down. Sarah looks better in her current undignified state than in any white dress. I might as well make them the stars of the show today after they've been insulting me so much. I'm Ashley Baker, 32 years old. After meeting him at a mixer and dating for a year, he finally proposed to me. Not in a special, high-end restaurant with a sparkling diamond ring, but at our usual pub. His name is Kevin. We both have straightforward personalities. We hope for the best, we toasted with beer. Though he proposed, the wedding wasn't immediate. Respecting my wish for a modest wedding, we planned it for a year later. Our date touring various wedding venues for bridal fairs was fresh and fun. Every time we were called groom and bride, we looked at each other and smiled sheepishly. I heard it's not easy to just decide and do a wedding, huh?
Yeah.
I thought a year later was too far away, but it's totally fine. Right? And those costs we thought were a lie turned out to be true. There's a reason the wedding is set for a year later. So this is for this month. Thank you. Yes, indeed. I sent $800 to Kevin over an app. He quickly checked the incoming money and closed the app. This is for our wedding costs a year later. We each contribute $800 every month, saving up about $20,000 over a year. I've entrusted the management to Kevin. It's a lot of money each month, but it's possible because we both still live with our parents. By the way, which venue seems good? Maybe your mother's place would be best, wouldn't it? Actually, my mother works at a wedding venue. Worried that Kevin might feel awkward at my parents' workplace, he strongly suggested it himself. The venue was really nice, and above all, it's great they'll give us various services since it's family. It was economic thinking. Very Kevin. Thus, our wedding preparations were progressing smoothly. We had already met each other's parents. Before the meeting at the venue, we wanted to talk things over at one of our parents' homes. So our visits there became more frequent. It could be a cafe, but Kevin's mother doted on me, saying, "We're family now. Come over anytime." Wow, they have a sweets buffet these days? What should I do? I can't eat much in a formal dress. Mom, it's the wedding. It'd be strange if the groom's mother was too focused on eating. That's true, what a shame. We always had a lively discussion. But the mood changed suddenly with the arrival of a certain person. No way. Kevin getting married? That's hilarious. As usual, I was visiting Kevin's parents' home when she suddenly appeared. Pointing at me without introducing herself, she laughed. Huh? This is your fiancé? Well, this is about right for Kevin, isn't it? She was a young and cute woman with loose, curly hair and plump lips. In contrast, I was dressed in a hoodie and almost no makeup since I wasn't going anywhere. I was angered by her words, but I wasn't dressed to confidently retort. Frustrated, I bit my lip and looked to Kevin for help. Kevin scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed. Hey, Sarah, that's rude. Then Kevin introduced her. Apparently, she was his cousin Sarah. Despite being 5 years younger than Kevin, she acted far more superior. You can't be picky at over 30. Someone like her is more realistic, right? Kevin just chuckled. His parents scolded Sarah. Despite her rudeness, I wondered if she would be invited to the wedding, as I forced a smile. Sarah had only been there a short while, but Kevin's mother urged him to drive her home. Sarah left the house looking dissatisfied. After Kevin and Sarah left, his parents both apologized. "I'm sorry, Ashley." Sarah just speaks without thinking. She's always treated Kevin like her follower since they were kids. And maybe she's upset you're taking him away. A follower of a girl 5 years younger? He could not support me because he couldn't oppose his boss? What a hopeless man he is. "I don't mind at all," I cheerfully replied, making sure not to let my in-laws sense my dark feelings. On the day of the wedding venue consultation next weekend, a major problem occurred. "Sorry for the wait." Who was it again? "Oh, Ashley. You're so plain, I hardly noticed you." To the meeting spot where I was supposed to wait for Kevin, Sarah came along. Because I definitely have better taste than Ashley. If it's a wedding, it has to be flashy. Leaving me bewildered, the two of them leaned close to each other in intimacy. Sarah naturally came along for the wedding consultation. "Kevin, don't you think these flowers would be nice?"
Yeah.
"They're nice." Kevin is caught between two women. And a lively woman who is actually an outsider keeps giving opinions. What does it mean when the real bride is me with a gloomy face? It seems like a bizarre scene. The wedding planner gives Sarah a vague smile and tries to turn to me with, "And the bride," but is drowned out by Sarah's cheerful voice. After a while, Sarah looks between me and the planner and snickers. "Hey, this isn't a funeral consultation. It's really depressing just over here. If you're not into it, why doesn't Ashley go home?" Right now, I think I must look incredibly foolish. I can't close my mouth that's hanging open. Sarah's behavior is so incomprehensible, she might as well be an alien. It was you who wanted a wedding. And yet, to dump all the details on Sarah? That's not possible. You just wanted to wear a dress and be fawned over by everyone, right? Kevin was an alien too. Until just recently, he seemed like a completely normal person, but now I can't keep up. It's fine by me. I love organizing events, like barbecues and Christmas parties with friends. Leave the wedding planning to me. As expected of Sarah. I'm relying on you. Well,
Yeah.
at this rate, my wedding will become Sarah's. I want to scream no, but I can't find my voice. The more I panic, the more my throat tightens. Kevin and Sarah are laughing uproariously. "Kevin." Then, a voice came from behind. Slow and polite, not loud but clearly audible. Kevin and Sarah's laughter stops. Turning around, there was my mother. "Kevin, who is that woman? She seems almost like the bride." Kevin immediately distances himself from Sarah. He awkwardly wraps his arm around me, smiling at my mother. "I'm sorry, but you're causing a disturbance to other grooms and brides here. Could you please quiet down a bit?"
Oh.
"Yes, sorry." "Thank you." "Then, your companion is leaving now, right?" "Huh?" "Oh, yes." My mother is smiling sweetly, yet there's a strong pressure about her. She forcefully sends Sarah away. That night, my mother worried about us with a baffled look. Kevin seemed so serious. What's gotten into him, bringing a woman like a mistress to the wedding consultation? Kevin is her minion, it seems. Her minion? After explaining Sarah's relation as his cousin and their power dynamics, my mother shrugged. What is that? They are no longer children. According to my mother, who has been involved in many weddings. Troubles are common behind the scenes of seemingly happy weddings. The stars of the wedding should be the bride and groom. But often parents and others meddle and make the ceremony suit their own tastes. I don't care if she's a cousin or a boss, the wedding is for Ashley and Kevin. Since then, Sarah hasn't shown herself. Thankfully, our meetings proceeded smoothly, though Kevin seemed bored. Whatever I ask, his only response is, "I think it's fine." Eventually, even his choice of tuxedo was careless. "Ashley, you can decide whatever you like." He's been acting indifferent not just during the meetings but generally towards me. Maybe the reality of marriage is bringing out various anxieties. Perhaps we are both experiencing pre-marriage blues. My mother once said, many couples argue before their wedding. It's understandable with such a big life change. We'll overcome these small crises and become a couple. After several arguments and reconciliations, a year passed in a flash. Finally, it's the day of the wedding. I'm so nervous. Kevin is restless, walking from one end of the bride and groom's dressing room to the other. His groom's speech, which we practice together, is perfect. No matter how many times I reassure him with, "It's going to be fine," Kevin is still nervous. We were both nervously smiling when, without a knock, the door opened. Where are the bride and groom? My face freezes instantly. It was Sarah. "Oh, there you are. Neither of you have done your makeup or gotten dressed yet. You're too plain, I didn't notice you." Laughing, Sarah is wearing a pure white dress. Moreover, it's a miniskirt above the knee, showing off her bare legs. It might be cute on a 3-year-old, but it's absolutely improper for an adult. She said she came early to get her hair done at the venue. It's way too early. I can't help but suspect she came to mock us. Hey, isn't my dress cute? I might even look more like the bride. I don't want any unpleasant experiences on my wedding day. I just forced a dry laugh.
Haha.
Soon, it was time for my hair and makeup to start. Prompted by the staff, Sarah left the dressing room. I sat down in front of a large mirror, feeling relieved. However, I couldn't see Kevin at all during the makeup. He was very nervous, so he might be walking around in the lobby. After finishing my hair and makeup, I went to look for him. Since it was still early for guests, only the staff was in the lobby. Then, the garden, the restroom, thinking as I walked down the hall. I stopped in front of the relatives' dressing room. The bride and groom's dressing room is a brightly lit, pure white room. It's very luxurious, with a bed and a bathroom in the back of the makeup room. When would we ever use this if we're not staying overnight? Kevin and I had laughed. In contrast, the relatives' dressing room is a calm space, with brown tones. Suddenly, I became curious about the relatives' dressing room and quietly opened the door. The first thing I saw was a counter where drinks for hospitality were about to be set up. It was a 2-room suite, and further back, there was a spacious sofa. Kevin had said during our venue tour, "I like the relatives' dressing room better than the bride and groom's. You can totally sleep on those huge sofas." As expected, I heard noises from the back. But something was odd. It sounded like the faint meowing of a cat. Also, the sofa creaking unnaturally. My heart was beating so fast it felt like it would break. From the other side of the thin wall, I heard Sarah's voice. What a terrible husband. Doing something bad on the wedding day. I could tell from the sounds what shady things Sarah was doing. But surely, the other person must be someone I don't know. I was hoping with a prayerful heart. But this is the best way to loosen up, isn't it? Undoubtedly, it was Kevin's voice. I collapsed right there, feeling limp. In a daze, I peeked into the next room. It was unmistakable. Kevin and Sarah were entangled, wearing nothing at all. Kevin buried his face in Sarah's chest, cooing one more time. What is it okay, Timewees? Is it okay for the groom to be doing this? My prep only takes 10 minutes, so it's fine. It's such a hassle, Ashley's boastful happy wedding. That's terrible. What are you saying? You're the star of the show. I'm not the star. If you say that, it's funny because Ashley doesn't look like the star either. No matter how much she dresses up, a plain face is just a plain face. She's just making a fool of herself. It seems I was the only one excited about getting married. My heart, which had been noisy until now, suddenly quieted down. As I calmed down, hatred surged within me for them entangled without clothes. Sarah looks better in her current undignified state than in any white dress. I might as well make them the stars of the show today. After a while, I stepped outside the dressing room where my mother, looking pale, rushed over. I will never forgive this, I said firmly, and my mother nodded earnestly. Then, 20 minutes later. Huh? Why? Kevin was trying to forcibly open the door of the relative's dressing room. But it wouldn't open. I had borrowed the key from my mother and locked them in. I also put a brace against the door. Hey, is anyone there? It won't open. Kevin banged on the door, calling for help. He's oblivious to the situation outside. What are you doing there? I asked. Ashley? The door won't open. Can you open it from the outside? Do you want me to open it? Huh? Of course. Hurry up. He seemed a bit irritated. I opened the door from the outside. As soon as Kevin came out of the dressing room, he grabbed my shoulder. Why didn't you open it sooner, eh? Kevin stopped suddenly. And for good reason, as behind me were my relatives. Kevin's relatives, and the venue staff, all gathered. What's going on? Sarah, who popped her face out, seemed to sense the bad atmosphere. She tried to pass it off with a thin smile. What's everyone doing here? I was just looking around the wedding venue. And it seems we got locked and we were in trouble. She started making excuses without anyone asking. Kevin's relatives also opened their mouths with dissatisfaction. We were told to come quickly because something serious happened. Is it just that Kevin and Sarah were locked in? What a pointless prank. We rushed over for this, don't mess around. Other relatives showed concern, asking, is Sarah okay? To Kevin's relatives, who were gathered without explanation. It seemed like I was making a big fuss over nothing. That's when I confessed the real reason. Actually, Kevin and Sarah were just cheating in this room until a moment ago. What? Kevin and Sarah, along with the relatives, were shocked. Kevin initially tried to grab my collar but, suddenly aware of the surroundings, he awkwardly hugged my shoulder instead. What are you talking about? It's a misunderstanding, were you dreaming? His mouth is smiling, but his eyes are fiercely telling me to shut up. It was scary, like being glared at by a snake, but I continued emotionlessly. It's not a misunderstanding. I saw it. That's why I locked them in this room. Ashley, don't lie, okay? Kevin's smile was unnaturally strained. Seeing this, Sarah came to his rescue. Ashley, stop it already. Look, everyone. Ashley is just really jealous. She's angry because Kevin and I are close. Before, I was just kindly helping with the wedding, and she sent me away. It's weird to be jealous of just a cousin, right? Basically, she just hates cute me. It's the worst to tell such a lie. Unlike the flustered Kevin, Sarah's calm explanation had the relatives nodding. They began whispering to each other while looking at me. It must be slander about me. Kevin's parents tried to calm the situation, but no one was listening. A groom cheating at the wedding venue on the wedding day is not normal. So it's more plausible that it's a lie born out of the bride's ugly jealousy. Kevin's relatives pierced me with relentless stares like needles. The flustered Kevin became bold. See, Ashley, apologize to everyone for lying and causing trouble. Then my mother stepped forward and apologized deeply. I apologize for calling you all here earlier than scheduled. I stood next to my mother. But I won't apologize like Kevin wishes. Thank you all for coming to our wedding today. As an apology for rushing you, though it may seem odd, we have prepared a special entertainment. At a signal, the staff guided the relatives to the banquet hall. Kevin and Sarah followed the relatives, confused. A huge screen was being lowered in the venue. Please, take a look. In the dimly lit venue, suddenly a woman's moan echoed. Simultaneously, a vivid image of Kevin and Sarah appeared on the giant screen. Screams arose from various places. Sarah, standing in front of the screen, shouted, "Stop it. Turn it off." The display of their passionate affair lasted only a few seconds. But it turned into the highlight of the entertainment. So, who is lying now? I asked in the silent venue. Sarah, are you planning to be the bride in that pure white dress? If you say I don't look like the main character, shouldn't you be the one who deserves to be? Look, everyone is watching you. Today's main characters are Sarah and Kevin. I applauded, but everyone else remained frozen. Kevin, his face turning red, grabbed my collar without hesitation. You. Don't mess around. The one messing around is you, Kevin. With a stern shout, Kevin's grip loosened. Typical of a cute girl's minion. He cannot defy someone stronger. Such a very, very weak guy. I took a breath and asked gently. I'll ask one more time. What were Kevin and Sarah doing in the dressing room? Kevin clenched his back teeth. This peeping, why? It's not like there was a hidden camera in the venue. The answer is simple. I just filmed the dressing room with my smartphone. What? I sent it to my mother. My mother waved her smartphone to show it. Alone, I might have been manipulated by the assertive Sarah at the scene of the affair. So, I secretly filmed their enjoyable moment and sent it immediately to my mother. From there, my mother acted swiftly. Having worked at the venue for many years and becoming a manager from a planner, she had a strong ability to organize the staff. She briskly issued instructions to lock Kevin in, gather the relatives, and start preparing the video and screen. Neither my mother nor I wanted to release the video, it was a last resort. It was for if Kevin and Sarah didn't admit their guilt. You can't just film secretly and expose it without consequences. Tearful, Kevin desperately tried to justify himself. That's when my mother-in-law slapped him across the face. Enough is enough. In fact, I had also sent the video to my in-laws. They never expected to see such a revelation on the day their son was to marry. I thought they might defend Kevin. But it was from my in-laws themselves. Let's gather the relatives and confront them in front of everyone. That triggered my mother and me to act. Kevin and Sarah are relatives. My in-laws made the painful decision. Because they didn't want to leave things ambiguous as they are family. My own mother betrayed me. Kevin stepped back fearfully. He held his chest as if he was about to have a hyperventilation attack. The one who betrayed is you, Kevin. My mother-in-law yelled, tears streaming down her face. Kevin's cries were loud. Everyone frowned and distanced themselves from him. Meanwhile, the other main character was quietly trying to slip away from the crowd. Even if she tried to escape amid the commotion, Sarah in her pure white attire stood out too much. She was soon caught by a middle-aged male relative nearby. "Let go, don't touch me." Sarah resisted, looking down. The middle-aged man raised his voice as if pleading. "It's a lie that you were cheating with Kevin, right? You love me, right?" Another man, sensing the situation, shouted, "You were reaching out to others besides me." Sarah looked down even more and did not reply. It seems that Kevin was not Sarah's only affair partner. It's unbelievable that she had been involved with 3 relatives who were close to her. Kevin stopped crying and loudly threatened the men. "I was special. I even gave her $800 every month." Sarah's head swayed, and she collapsed. It seems Kevin had said the one thing he shouldn't have. Following that, 2 other men also confessed they had been giving Sarah money. Ultimately, Sarah's goal was money. Kevin and the men, who had just been rivals fighting over Sarah, suddenly teamed up. "You said you loved only me, but you tricked me." Sarah became the enemy of Kevin and the others. Surrounded by the approaching men, Sarah trembled. "Help." Incredibly, Sarah and I made eye contact. Since all the relatives were looking at her with disdain, it seemed she couldn't even rely on her own parents. In such a situation, she wouldn't be able to look her parents in the face. "Sarah, you always wanted to be the center of attention. Everyone is looking at you now. Aren't you glad?" Sarah's face turned pale rapidly, and she rolled her eyes back, losing consciousness. Kevin, grabbing her arm, shouted, "Hey, Sarah, we're not done talking yet, you cheater." I lightly tapped Kevin on the shoulder from behind. "We're not done talking either, you cheater." Blaming a lover's cheating, is this some kind of joke? Kevin truly doesn't understand his position. The color drained from his excited face. "No, it's not like that. It's not cheating. I don't even like Sarah. I love Ashley. This was like, like going to a professional service. I was just buying Sarah with money." I put on my best smile and nodded understandingly. Kevin relaxed a bit, feeling slightly relieved. "I see. You were buying Sarah with money, with my money." Kevin looked up to the sky with a smile still on his face. When Kevin mentioned giving Sarah $800 a month, I had suspected as much. That was exactly the amount I had been giving Kevin for our wedding savings. Using the money meant for our happy future together for his own desires was unforgivable. "Please, forgive me." Kevin looked up at me with tearful eyes. Disgusting. I felt the urge to stomp on his head, but I refrained. It would only dirty my shoes. In the end, the wedding was cancelled. Since almost all the invitees were relatives, I had them return home after the commotion. Of course, my marriage to Kevin was called off. Thankfully, we hadn't registered the marriage yet. This. Despite not wanting anything to do with Kevin anymore, he came to me holding something. "We cancelled the wedding, but they say we still have to pay. Isn't this a rip-off? Talk to your mother." What he showed me was a bill for about $20,000. Even though we said it was cancelled, it was already the day of the event. So full payment was natural. "For now, we can pay with our savings." I said this kindly on purpose. That was, mostly because we invited relatives. I calculated we would profit from the wedding gifts. I didn't think we needed to save. "So you spend it on Sarah." For Sarah, Kevin was someone she wouldn't usually consider a romantic partner. But perhaps she couldn't help doing something about him marrying someone else. According to what I gradually found out, it was Sarah who had enticed him. Are you really going to marry such a plain woman? Sounds like a boring life. If only you had money, you could have fun with a cute girl like me. Reacting to her words, he handed over the $800 he had in his app right then and there. After that, their relationship of money and physical intimacy continued. It was you who ruined the wedding, so it's only fair that you pay for this. I was about to burst out in response, but suddenly Kevin disappeared from my view. To my surprise, Kevin had been floored by my father-in-law and was lying on the ground. It seemed that my in-laws, suspicious of Kevin sneaking out, had followed him. "You are the one who broke it, Kevin." My mother-in-law shouted what I was feeling. My in-laws apologized profusely to me. Kevin was dragged back home by my father-in-law. Afterward, through a lawyer, I demanded compensation from Kevin. Sarah was supposed to be the darling of the relatives, adored even by her parents. Even if their beloved daughter messed up, they might have covered for her if it could be settled with money. However, even her parents had had enough after the disgrace she showed on the wedding day. Kevin had no savings and had to borrow money to pay me the compensation, as informed by my in-laws. Moreover, both were kicked out of their parents' homes. Having never lived alone, Kevin started to emit a stale smell and complained. "I don't know why, but everyone at work avoids me. They all hate me." And even resigned, as a mutual friend told me. Meanwhile, Sarah had been moving from friend to friend, but was being shunned everywhere for bad-mouthing me. Soon she would run out of places to go. Now that I had broken off the engagement, the two could openly date. But they were blaming each other, saying, "It's your fault." Kevin and Sarah were suffering without money, abandoned by their parents and relatives. But it was their own fault, not anyone else's. Sometime after the turmoil, I was living my peaceful daily life. My life is over. I still feel sad that my dream wedding was brutally destroyed. "What are you talking about?" My mother slapped my back. "You're still young in your 30s. Sure, if you mope around at home, your life is over. But remember, there's plenty of new happiness out there once you step outside." I wonder where it could be. Well, how about the top of Mount Fuji? Or the Sahara Desert? That's too far. What? Let's go together. My mother and I laughed inadvertently. As my mother said, happiness must be out there somewhere. For now, my mother suggested we go to a beach resort this weekend. Maybe she just wanted to travel with me. No matter where you go or what mistakes you make, Ashley, you always have a place to return to. My mother whispered this and immediately began preparing for our trip. Always strong and dependable, my mother. I realized I am still protected by my mother. I haven't given up on the dream of marriage yet. I will build a happy home and surely become a mother like her.